No, can you tell that there is something wrong with this picture? At first, when I saw this picture, I couldn't really tell what it was about it that felt strange, but I knew something was off. I had to get some of the backstory and some of the context on it to understand what the picture was even from. This was back in 2016 when the Saturn family went missing, including their daughter. Nobody knew what happened to these people, but effectively their home became a crime scene, which is where the photo came from. Before we dive in, a huge thank you to you for listening to Creep Time, the podcast. If you haven't listened, go click the link in my bio and listen on Spotify or Apple. This picture, this was from the initial walkthrough of the home. They typically walk through a home, they'll take photos of every room because it's effectively a crime scene, it's an investigation. But if you look at the central mirror, right towards the back of the reflection, you would see that this person is not alone in this room. It was only discovered after the fact that it appeared to be someone was hiding in the darkness next to the chair. Whoever's face this was, police believe they might have been responsible for the disappearance, because why would they be hiding?
This is proof that we aren't alone. Okay, so in the video I'm about to show you, it shows a literal UFO going over some town, and it then makes this noise and something happens that isn't normal. All the power in the entire town goes out. Watch the video for yourself, and then we can talk about it after.
That's interesting.
Whoa. Never seen this before.
Okay, so as you can see, that video is absolutely insane. A UFO literally flew over this small town and made all the power go out. I've never seen a UFO video like this, and it kinda looks super real. Many people are also speculating that this is some government equipment that the public has never seen yet, and they were just testing it out on this small town. But I don't know, that really did look like a UFO, and I wonder what they are actually doing to this small town. And I honestly wonder why this isn't getting talked about more than it is.
I was camping with my husband and his family at a very small remote lake in New Mexico. There were about 10 people in our group and about 6 other people located at the campsite right next to us. Being that it was nighttime, both groups were doing your typical activities of making s'mores or having a couple drinks or telling a few scary stories. When out of nowhere, we hear what sounds like a little girl screaming for help. Now, mind you, neither group had any children with them, so we were a bit confused at first, being that we were in such a remote location, hearing a little girl screaming for help. But we all agreed that we were 100%, in fact, all hearing the same thing. We decided to go out and investigate and try to figure out where this sound was coming from. There was a field located right behind our campsite where we all agreed that's where we all heard the sound coming from. But when we went back there, we all saw a very tall white figure standing about 100 feet away from us. This is what was making the little girl crying noises. Now this thing must have been about 7 feet tall. We decided to get a little closer to get a better look. When this thing saw us, it started to back away. And it went on all fours and disappeared into the trees. For the rest of the night, we continued to hear the little girl crying for help while we were trying to sleep.
Do you believe in coincidences? A guy wrote, 6 or 7 years back, my family was living in our previous home. This was our second house we had in Ohio. Our previous home was about 2 streets over from our second house. Well, one night, my mom woke me up and was acting really panicked. She grabbed my brother, who was probably about 5 at the time, and told me to go outside. It was about 4 in the morning, and once we all got outside, my dad tried to calm my mom down and asked her what was wrong. She explained she had a dream that something bad was going to happen to us if we stayed in the house that night, and told us it would be from carbon monoxide poisoning. Then my dad told her that all the detectors were working perfectly fine, and we decided to go back inside. We didn't smell anything, nor did the detectors go off, so we went back to bed. But my mom just couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next morning, my mom was watching the news before school, and the very first story was that a local family was rushed out of their home because a carbon monoxide leak inside, which could have just been a coincidence. But then the news station showed the house. It was our old house that we had just moved out of.
I personally don't believe anything's a coincidence. What do you think?
You may know the story of Lizzie Borden, who was arrested for the axe murder of her father and stepmother. But did you know there was another axe murder that happened around the time as the one that Lizzie was being tried for? And it completely changed the Lizzie Borden trial. On August 4th, 1892, Lizzie Borden's father and stepmother were found hacked to death with an axe inside of her home. Lizzie was home when this occurred, and at one point she went upstairs and walked past the guest bedroom, which held the mangled body of her stepmother, but she claimed that she saw nothing the entire day. It sounded really suspicious, and many people thought she committed the crime, but there was no physical evidence in the house that really tied her to it. What a lot of people don't know, though, is that spring there was another axe murder in Lizzie's town. Bertha Manchester, a farmer's daughter, was found with 23 axe wounds to the head. The sketch artist did her so dirty. But this crime was committed by a man, a farmhand who had a wage dispute with her father. And to get revenge, he killed Bertha. This led a lot of people in the community to believe that only a rage-filled man could have committed a crime like this. And Lizzie was a very mild-mannered woman. Could this have contributed to why she was acquitted?
Okay, so this time traveler claims that on June 16th, 2023, a famous celebrity will come back from the dead and show the world how they faked their death. But before you start losing your mind, let's talk about it. So this time traveler from an undisclosed year claims that on June 16th, a famous dead celebrity will come back from the dead and show the world how they faked their death. But we all know how these time travelers always predict things and they never end up true. But what if this time it does? There's a lot of people that could come back from the dead, so let's start with Steve Jobs. Many people have already speculated that he faked his own death to get away from Apple. And this was a photo of somebody that looks exactly like Steve Jobs captured in Egypt. You can't tell me that's not Steve Jobs. So do you think it's going to be him? Or do you think it's going to be Mr. King Pop Michael Jackson, who many other conspiracy theorists claim to be completely alive and well? Over the years, there have been many photos of Michael Jackson captured, but not many people believe them to be true. And finally is Tupac, which majority of people think it's going to be. Not only because there have been multiple Tupac sightings since he died, but also because his birthday is actually on June 16th. So let me know in the comments what celebrity you think is going to come back and show the world how they faked their death.
You all need to watch this video. CCTV footage in a hospital caught a ghost patient coming in. This security guard has a full-on encounter with her. Watch. The security guard sees her completely and is totally interacting with her. Little did he know that it was the ghost of a patient that died the day before. She is stuck reliving the day that she died. I covered this case and more on my YouTube channel, link in bio.
This is a true horrifying story that took place in Ras Al Khaimah, the United Arab Emirates. This story was so mysterious that government authorities of Ras Al Khaimah had to get involved. In 2018, an Emirati named Adil Al-Zaabi was out with his friends all night. He was 22 back at the time. He was going out every single night. Comes back home very late in the morning and barely used to see his family. His mother calls him one night, worried about where he's been all these days. She tells him to come back home early. He disrespected his own mother and hangs up the phone. When he reaches home, he sees his mother and she asks him again why he's been gone for days. He cusses at his own mother, yells at her, disrespects her, and goes to his room. He turns on his shower. He locks his toilet door. Midway through his shower, his lights turn off. He starts yelling, thinking someone is playing games with him. In pitch darkness, inside the shower, he feels a grip on his neck. He gets pushed towards the wall, not able to move at all, and he gets whipped on his back multiple times. He tried to yell, he tried to scream, he tried to move, nothing. Hit after hit. He hears an old man's voice telling him, "How dare you do this to your mother? Smack. I will take your life if you do this again." Lash after lash. for 2 whole minutes. He unlocks the door, runs for his life, with no clothes on, from how feared he was. He begs his mother for forgiveness. The family immediately calls the ambulance. Adil was severely injured and he was bleeding everywhere. I have the real image of his wounds, but TikTok will not allow me to show this graphic content. The police were involved, detectives were involved, psychiatrists were also involved. The government was accusing the family of domestic violence. The police searched the whole house. He swore to them that it was not his family. This case took many years to dissolve, but only the mother knows what this thing was. They were jinns that protected her, and they wanted to teach Adil a lesson.
This is one of the craziest stories ever. A guy wrote, I used to date a girl in college who lived 3 hours away. We would trade off weekends, one at her school and one at mine. One day, she got upset with me because she had driven all the way to see me, but I was in an all-night study session and couldn't be home to see her. She texted me that she was going back to her place, and then I never heard anything from her ever again. After 3 days of texting her trying to make sure she was okay, the text started coming back as number not found. I sent her the stuff she'd left at my apartment in the mail, and it returned as no forwarding address. Her instant messenger account was disconnected, and it gets weirder. I called her apartment landline and was told the people that lived there had moved out and didn't leave a number as to where they went. At this point, I was really freaked out and asked some friends who worked in school admin to pull some strings just to make sure she was still alive. But the school she was at didn't have any records of her as a student. The license plate to her car wasn't registered to anyone. None of our mutual friends ever saw her again. I even called the police, but there were no car accidents involving anyone who fit her description in the stretch of road between our 2 schools that night. Or in the 2 weeks after. Cops wouldn't file a missing persons report because I wasn't a family member. But to this day, I have no idea what happened, why she freaked out on me so bad, or if she's even still alive. Is she in a witness protection program? The girl I was dating literally disappeared without a trace.
I mean, witness protection? Was she a ghost? Where did she go? What do you think happened?
One day, you remember the Shams al-Ma'arif story? It was part 25 from my horror stories. Talked about a book.
Okay.
One of the most viral videos I ever posted.
Okay.
So there is a book called Shams al-Ma'arif. It is the world's most dangerous black magic book. One of the.
Okay.
Because there's another book called Al-Ghazali, which is even worse.
Okay.
Shams al-Ma'arif is like the guideline on how to do black magic. So I talked about this book and I told a story about it. I'm the first person on TikTok to speak about Shams al-Ma'arif. The first ever. It was just a topic that went so viral globally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh no. I opened a door that was locked for a long time. And it pissed them off. Them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want people to know about this book. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's not a book that's very known. And I talked about it and I made it go viral.
Yeah.
It's my fault. So I was like, shit. Many big creators talked about this, bro. Like, it was everywhere. A few months later, one day, I come back after a night out with the boys. We didn't have dinner. We didn't have anything, like, nothing that would make me sick.
Mm-hmm.
I started throwing up outside in my lawn. Badly. What could it be?
Mm.
I go upstairs. I thought it's over. I throw up again. I open Google. I'm like, Google, I'm throwing up right now for no reason. Threw up 3 times for no reason. Then it gave me like symptoms. A heart attack was one of them.
Yeah. Cancer, all of that.
I swear to God, bro. I go to sleep. My body would wake me up. Can you imagine? I'm in deep sleep. My body would wake me up to puke 12 to 13 times. The whole night. After the 5th time, I was puking nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Everything was out. I was just puking literal spit. Like, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Empty.
Yeah.
I was puking acid. I go to sleep. It stopped. You know? I wake up. I go to the hospital. They do a quick check on me, everything. They're like, we don't know the reason of why you puked. We actually don't know. There's nothing that we found. Doctors couldn't find out why I was puking, why I puked 13 times. in the hospital, bro. Pulled my phone out. I go to my Instagram and I read my Instagram message requests. And I went and read all the message requests all the way from the bottom. I went to the bottom and I found this very sketchy account. And he wrote me a message in Hebrew and then in Arabic. And in Hebrew it says, you shouldn't have talked about the book. You will get pain, 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 pain. التحية من الماسونية, which means hail to Satan or something like that. You will get pain, pain. It was a spell on me, bro. And I looked at the date of that message. It was a day before I got sick.
Fucking hell.
Can you imagine?
That's fucked up, man. That's
out of nowhere, bro. I puked 13 times. And I get this black magic spell from a guy through Instagram. Some guy really hated the fact that I spoke about Shams al Ma'arif. He was one of them. He's one of these people.